Hello and welcome back to the France 24 newsroom. It's time now for Top Story, when we take a closer look at one of today's headlines. And of course, this Friday is all about Olympic fever, as the Games are set to begin in London in just a few hours' time. 7 years of preparation will mean the 16,000 athletes and 11 million visitors from 204 countries are all protected by the UK's biggest ever peacetime security operation. And it's no wonder Danny Boyle's 3-hour-long opening ceremony tonight has cost €34 million and will see a host of dignitaries and heads of state among the 60,000 strong audience. And for a broader look now at the issues surrounding these Games, I'm joined by our international affairs editor, Melissa Bell. Hello, Melissa.
Hi.
So 100 or so foreign heads of state and dignitaries expected at these Games, including Michelle Obama tonight, Queen Elizabeth II, of course. Although this event is clearly about sport, there clearly are also political issues that arise from it.
It's always political, and inevitably there's the eyes of the world are always on whether this particular city is going to manage to host the Games properly. Questions of cost. There is this Olympic curse that means that costs always spiral. Indeed, no city since Barcelona 30 years ago has managed to hold a profitable Games. So it's been quite a while. Questions of security, of course, and actually the run-up to these Games has been slightly less fraught than those that we've seen in the past. There has been this issue, of course, over the security contractor G4S, where 10,400 guards were meant to have been delivered, and they made it clear only a few days ago that wasn't going to happen. But on the whole, it's been relatively smooth. Not smooth enough, it turns out, for Mitt Romney, who's put his foot in it by saying that it was disconcerting, these questions over the security staffing, to which, of course, David Cameron has replied that it's rather easier to hold Games in the middle of nowhere than it is in London, referring, of course, to the Games that he'd managed in Utah. So it is, of course, there are these questions around security, around cost, and then, of course, the medals themselves. It is always a competition. It tends to be between China and the United States. China, of course, that was out of the Games for a long time because Taiwan had been allowed in protest. They had refused to participate. Since they've been in, though, you've seen the difference between the United States and China sort of change for a long time. The United States ahead in the Beijing Games 2008. China beat them this time and are hoping to do so again. So clearly there'll be a lot of pressure on both countries to get their medal counts up. And it is really this kind of very tight contest between countries like Russia, the United States and China to show that they are the leaders in world sports.
Okay, so as well as all that, it is a bit of a time to take stock, isn't it? You were mentioning there the Beijing Games. That was 4 years ago. We can reflect a little bit on how the world has changed in those 4 years.
Precisely, and it is a very personal story for many of the athletes. For a number of them, of course, it is the first time, and I'm talking about the athletes that come from countries that have been involved in the Arab Spring. It is the first time that they're representing a country that is free from dictatorship, and it can be a very personal story. For instance, the Yemeni judo champion Ali Khosrow was wounded in the abdomen last year protesting against President Saleh. In Tunisia, Wajdi Boualeg, who's a gymnast, had been banned from the sport in 2009 for insulting President Ben Ali. He's now going to be at the Games due to the change in regime. Amr Saoud, who's the fastest man in Africa and an Egyptian, had to take time out from his busy training schedule because from the very first day of protest against Hosni Mubarak, the 25th of January, he was out in the streets protesting against him. So for all these athletes, the changes have been tremendous and in some cases incredibly personal. In Libya, for instance, it used to be a son of Gaddafi who ran the Olympic Committee. Now it's a man who spent much of the last few months in captivity, having been kidnapped and released only recently. So another indication of the extent to which things have changed. And then beyond the Arab Spring countries, you have the newer countries. South Sudan, of course, will be participating for the first time, although having achieved its independence only last year, hasn't had time to organise itself so that its competitor, Guan Marial, will be represented under the Olympic flag when the ceremonies begin tonight. And of course, Somalia, 4 athletes are going against the odds. This is, after all, a country that's had no functioning government since 1991. They've been training for the last 6 months in a makeshift training camp. So a reminder of some of the difficulties that remain, even though many of the athletes bring with them a sense of renewed hope about the way the world is going.
Okay, Melissa Bell, thank you very much indeed for bringing that different perspective on the Olympics in this top story. And that's it for this edition. Many thanks for joining us, and do stay tuned to France 24.